I was reborn, and I gradually distanced myself from Oscar. He understood. There was no appointment, no conversation. I knew he had also been reborn, relying on the experience from his previous life. He quickly became a rising star in the financial world, embraced a beauty, and enjoyed limitless glory for a time. I, however, chose to stay in this city, to remain by my parents' side. The next time we met was at a class reunion. 8 years later, he had his arm around his university's campus belle, a cigarette between his lips, looking at me, dressed plainly and without any glamour. He mocked. 8 years later, and this is how you show up to meet your old classmates? I remained unmoved, until my husband arrived, interlaced his fingers with mine, and greeted them with a smile. Sorry I'm late. I'm Victoria's husband, Eric. The cigarette fell from Oscar's hand onto the floor. He stared at me in disbelief, panic spreading across his face. Only then did he finally understand. When I left him, it was truly over. Not a tantrum, not anger, but a real ending. Chapter 01. Since graduating from high school, the first time I saw Oscar again was at a class reunion 8 years later. The moment I pushed open the private room door at the hotel, I caught sight of a crowd gathered around Oscar in the corner. Someone laughed and said to him, "Our brother really made it." Ending up with the campus belle. Oscar really brought honor to our school. To be able to thrive so well in a big city, how could ordinary people like us compare to a big shot? Victoria, do you remember her? Are you still in touch? You two were always together in high school. Why not anymore? He answered casually. Just study partners who supervised each other. Even if there was something, that was years ago. I pretended not to hear. Calmly, I continued walking forward. Although it had been many years since we last met, I still recognized him. I calmly found a seat by the side, poured myself a glass of juice, and stared at the cup in a daze, completely ignoring him. The moment I appeared, everyone looked over. Seeing the atmosphere stiffen, the class monitor quickly stood up. Victoria, you're here. Do you still remember me? I'm Hudson, the class monitor. Oscar is here too. I lifted my eyes and met Oscar's gaze. At that moment, he had his arm around Zoe. A trace of amusement flashed through his eyes as he looked me up and down, followed by arrogance and disdain. Today, what I wore didn't look luxurious on the surface, but it was handmade custom clothing, no complicated patterns, no bright colors. The fabric was soft and comfortable. It was just a reunion. There was no need to make a big spectacle of it, so I only wore light makeup. But compared to Zoe, I did seem rather inconspicuous. She was dressed in a haute couture gown, holding a crocodile skin handbag, with exquisite makeup, fully armed from head to toe. I greeted them gracefully. Long time no see. Oscar gave a slight nod. Indifferent. Zoe also smiled and nodded, not wanting to embarrass myself. I turned to chat with other classmates. After everyone arrived, they all took the initiative to pour wine for Oscar, to toast him, and to flatter him. At that moment, I received a phone call. Looking at the noisy environment, I walked out of the room. After finishing the call at the end of the corridor, I turned back toward the private room and ran into Oscar. He reeked of alcohol, his face slightly flushed. He raised his eyes to look at me, towering over me, and sneered. Victoria, after 8 years, this is all you've amounted to? I remained unmoved. Seeing him like this, I thought of my previous life. In my previous life, during one of our rare moments of leisure, we were walking along the river when we had a fierce argument. The cause was that back in high school, he had yearned for life in a big city, so I accompanied him to struggle there for 10 years. We achieved success in our careers and saved up a decent amount of money, but the fast pace of the big city left me suffocating. I wanted to go home. I was an only child. I had once brought my parents to live in the big city, but they could never adapt to the fast pace, had no relatives or friends around them, and eventually went back. I couldn't abandon my parents. They were getting old, and I wanted to stay with them. Oscar also promised me that once we made 10 million, we would go back. But later, he was dazzled by the big city. Even though we had clearly reached that goal, he kept delaying that argument. He bluntly said he wasn't going back. I finally lost my temper. You promised me we would go back. If you won't go back, then I'll go back by myself. Do you have to force me like this? Oscar shouted angrily. Isn't this city better than our hometown? You're so unambitious. You should think about our future. Wouldn't our children have access to better educational resources here? Our hometown can't compare. Not long before, he had promised me that if I got pregnant, we would return, but he changed his mind. Once a child was born, it would be even harder to go back. I didn't think Jiang City was bad. Although it wasn't as prosperous as High City, it was still a first-tier city, not as worthless as Oscar made it sound. Don't forget you also came from Jiang City. People shouldn't forget where they came from. I don't think Jiang City is inferior to High City. These past few years, the gap between them has been narrowing. It's narrowing, but it still can't compare to High City. For Jiang City to develop to the level of High City, it would take decades. So in your heart, Jiang City will never compare to High City? I sneered. Yes. Isn't life good here? Why insist on going somewhere inferior to High City? I really don't understand what you're thinking. Then he added coldly, if I'd known you were this unambitious, I shouldn't have brought you to High City to study in the first place. What a waste of my time. I should have fought alongside a like-minded junior instead. In our sophomore year, Zoe was a freshman. She was beautiful and from a fairly well-off family. She liked Oscar and confessed to him. At that time, our relationship was good, and he rejected her. Every time we had conflicts afterward, he brought this up. At first, I thought he was trying to show how much he loved me, that he had rejected such a good girl. Later, as he mentioned it again and again, I realized he truly regretted it. So later, because of an argument, we both fell into the water and were accidentally reborn on the day we filled out our college applications. He did not invite me to go to High City with him, and I chose to stay in my own city. Chapter 02. I originally thought that in this life, Oscar and I would never meet again. In my previous life, he never attended class reunions. Yet in this one, he showed up. It was obvious that the way he looked now, he was waiting for me. Seeing that I didn't speak, he narrowed his eyes at me. Look at what you're wearing from head to toe. What kind of future is there staying in Jiang City? Look at you. And then look at the classmates who stayed in Jiang City. How many of them are actually doing well? But even if you regret it now, it's too late. Zoe and I are getting married. He took out a jewelry box, then knelt on one knee. Zoe, in front of all my classmates, I'm proposing to you. Will you marry me? Zoe smiled shyly and hugged him. His gaze turned to me. I shrugged. Congratulations, I said indifferently. He was a little surprised and stared straight at me, clearly unhappy with my reaction. Probably my indifferent attitude irritated him. He was the one who chose to go to High City to develop his career. The person he wanted to marry was also the woman he had always dreamed of. Why cling to me? Did he want to see me regret it? I wouldn't regret it. I sat back down and received a phone call. You've landed? I'll be there soon. If you're tired, then don't come. I'll be heading back shortly. How could I let my wife attend alone? Naturally, where my wife goes, I follow. I laughed happily and said nothing more. After hanging up, someone suddenly walked over. Victoria. It was Zoe, holding a glass of wine. I've heard your name before. I want to toast you. Thank you for not going to High City with Oscar. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had a chance. Zoe smiled. Oscar said that back then. If it weren't for you urging him on, his grades might not even have been good enough to get into a top university in High City. There's no need to thank me. We just helped each other. No matter what. Oscar's achievements today are thanks to you. Her smile was fake. She wanted to show something off. To show off that I had lost a golden catch. I'll toast you. As she spoke, she picked up the red wine and poured it into my glass. I don't drink. I refused. It's red wine. It's fine. Just a little. She insisted on pouring it into my glass. I looked at her indifferently. I didn't take the glass. She stood there awkwardly. At that moment, Oscar walked over. We're all classmates. It's just one glass of wine. There's no need to be so fussy. After saying that, he handed the glass to me. I took it with a cold smile. They thought I had compromised. The next second, I directly splashed the wine all over them. Zoe screamed. Oscar was also in a sorry state. She hurriedly took tissues to wipe Oscar and herself, muttering, "This is my favorite outfit. This can't be ruined." The other classmates looked at me in shock. They all knew their clothes were valuable. They passed tissues over or stepped aside. After wiping for a while, Zoe raised her head and looked at me with an unfriendly gaze. "Victoria, it was just one glass of wine. Was it really necessary? My clothes and bag are soaked in wine. They're ruined. Can you afford to pay for this?" Oscar frowned at me. "Victoria, you've gone too far. This is your own doing. I said I don't drink. You insisted." I looked at them calmly. Oscar sneered. "Don't tell me you're upset because I'm marrying Zoe. So you snapped?" Some of the classmates suddenly looked enlightened. Others disagreed. They started whispering among themselves. "Really?" When Oscar said he was getting married, she didn't seem sad at all. Could there be some misunderstanding? That's hard to say. Oscar is a rising star in the business world now. Maybe she just pretends not to care, but deep down she does. Back in school, Oscar and Victoria were inseparable. It was only after Oscar went to High City for college that they separated. Now that Oscar's career is booming, could Victoria be regretting it? Love turning into hatred? I was truly helpless, but I still said, "You can speak louder. I'm not deaf. I can hear you." I'll say it again. Oscar and I were only study partners. We were never together. I was the one who chose to stay in Jiang City. I don't regret it. Zoe's face was full of disbelief. "Oscar already told me everything. You don't need to be embarrassed. I know you can't forget Oscar. I sincerely thank you for studying with him back then, but you're already the past. I truly hope you can let go of this obsession." I was stunned. What nonsense was this? I tilted my head at her. "Where exactly did you see that I can't let go of Oscar? I didn't even approach you two today. Did water get into your brain?" "Victoria, stop pretending," Zoe said firmly. "Oscar is successful now. There's no way you don't feel regret." I said coldly. "Do you have some kind of persecution complex? Do you think Oscar is some irresistible prize to me? I'll say it again. I don't regret anything. I'm very satisfied with my current life." Oscar sneered, not believing me at all. There was no explaining it. Their way of thinking was simply bizarre. Who knew they would show up? If I'd known I'd run into a lunatic couple, I wouldn't have come. Seeing that I fell silent, Zoe said, "You ruined our clothes and bags. How are you going to compensate us? Or drink this bottle of wine and we'll let it go." She looked certain that I couldn't afford it. "Send me the price and your bank account number. I'll transfer the money." Oscar sized me up. "You'll pay? Can you even afford it? The clothes and the bag together are worth $750,000. What will you use to pay?" I took a deep breath. "You might as well just apologize to us." Chapter 03. Heh. I laughed in anger. I picked up another glass of wine from the table and poured it over Oscar's head. Drip. Drip. The air froze instantly. "Victoria, have you gone crazy?" I burst out laughing. "I already said I'll pay. Why are you making such a big deal out of everything? Can you even afford it?" Oscar snarled viciously. "Give me your bank account." I said each word slowly and clearly. "Don't regret it." Oscar's face darkened. "Oscar, she doesn't appreciate it. There's no use saying so much to her." Zoe suddenly cut in. Oscar didn't hesitate anymore and gave the account number. I entered the bank account and transferred the money on the spot. "It's in, right?" Oscar looked at the text message on his phone, disbelief all over his face. "Where did you get so much money?" The next second, the private room door was suddenly pushed open. Everyone turned to look. Eric walked in. He went straight to me, wrapped an arm around my shoulders, and said, "Sorry I'm late. I'm Victoria's husband, Eric." Looking at the scene in front of him, he asked in confusion, "What happened?" "Just a small misunderstanding." Class monitor Hudson smoothed things over, then said to Zoe and Oscar, "It's rare for us to gather like this. Let's all keep things friendly and make money in harmony. Don't make it so tense." Oscar's expression turned ugly as he looked at me and Eric. "You're married?" Eric smiled. "Yes, we registered our marriage this year." Everyone had heard Eric's name before. He was a big figure in Jiang City. No one expected Victoria to have married him. No wonder she said she could transfer the money immediately and did. Because Eric appeared, All the classmates actively came to toast us. Eric said, "My wife can't drink alcohol." Someone asked, "Pregnant?" "Yes, 3 months already." Eric smiled warmly. Understood. Understood. In no time, everyone gathered and sat around us. Oscar and Zoe were left out. Zoe's face looked awful. She wore a wronged expression and looked at Oscar, hoping he would comfort her. But Oscar's gaze wasn't on her at all. Instead, he was staring straight at me. That stare was impossible to ignore. I raised my eyes. Oscar's eyes were red. He was furious. What was he angry about? We each lived the life we wanted. What else could he be dissatisfied with? Leaning against Eric, I spoke softly. Eric's gaze shifted to Oscar, and he gave a light chuckle. Do they have some issue with us as a married couple? Why do they keep looking at us? Oscar withdrew his gaze, picked up a glass of wine from the table, and drank it down in one go, saying nothing. Seeing that, Eric didn't say anything more either. He quietly served me food and took care of me. Everyone looked at us with envy. They said Eric and I were a match made in heaven. The reunion was lively. What had just happened seemed as if it never occurred. On the contrary, because Eric arrived, the atmosphere became even better. After all, Eric was Jiang City's new rising star. Everyone focused their attention on Eric and me, and the people who had originally surrounded Oscar and Zoe thinned out a lot. The two of them sat in silence and, at some point, left the room without anyone noticing. A classmate noticed and said, somewhat speechless, leaving without even saying a word. Been in high city too long, doesn't even care about old classmates anymore. Sigh. Exactly. Sure, he's doing well in high city, but there's no need to act so high and mighty. The moment Eric showed up, he slipped away with his tail between his legs. Oscar had always been arrogant because he was doing well in high city. Looking down on Jiang City, Eric was even more impressive, and Oscar chickened out. After the reunion ended, a private car came to pick us up. Eric had drunk a little, a faint tipsiness in him. In a sour tone, he said, I used to hear Oscar's name all the time. He's nothing special. How did you ever fall for him back then? That's not true. We were just study partners. Besides, now that I have such an outstanding husband like you, how could I have ever fallen for him? He snorted a laugh, pulled me into his arms, and said, actually, I should thank him. That's how I got to meet someone as wonderful as you. That was it. Each of us made our choice. He chose to run toward the big city, and I chose to stay here, so I never regretted it. If he hadn't suddenly appeared, maybe I wouldn't even have thought of him for the rest of my life. Chapter 04. The next day, I received a call from an unfamiliar number. It was Oscar. After graduating from high school, I didn't want to have anything to do with him, so I changed my old phone number. I didn't know how he found my current one. He said, Victoria, let's meet. I refused directly. I don't think there's anything between us worth meeting for. I'll be waiting for you at the cafe bar outside the school. After saying that, Oscar hung up the phone. He seemed certain that I would go, but this life was different from the last. People in matters unrelated to me were nothing but passing clouds. What did they have to do with me? So I didn't go. But fate seemed determined to force our paths to cross again. He didn't give up on wanting to see me one more time. He started asking around everywhere about me. After Eric found out, he came to ask me whether I wanted him driven out of Jiang City. I said no. Since he wanted to see me, then I would meet him. Otherwise, he wouldn't give up. Instead of letting him disturb our life, it was better to make things clear. That would be better for everyone. This time, I went to see him. We met at the same cafe bar he had mentioned before. When Oscar saw me, there was surprise in his eyes, along with a knowing smile. In his heart, my not seeing him for the past few days was just me being angry. He thought that as long as he coaxed me, he could still control me. I sat across from him and got straight to the point. What do you want? What would you like to drink? Oscar asked. Plain water is fine. I answered directly. I saw Oscar's expression change slightly, but in the end, he didn't say anything. The server brought me a cup of warm plain water. He said, Victoria, you're actually with someone else now. Back when we were in school, didn't you say you would only like me for your whole life? People change. You changed. And so did I said calmly. Back then, you always said you rejected that junior because of me. Aren't you marrying her now anyway? I was because Oscar's lips moved, but he couldn't say anything. I continued. In my previous life, I already realized long ago that you and I were incompatible. It was me who forced that relationship. Now we're both walking our own paths. Isn't this good as it is? What do you mean? Are you saying our marriage in the previous life was wrong? Oscar asked angrily. Yes, it was wrong, I said bluntly. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been so many conflicts between us. I just want you to face reality. Oscar said angrily. The reason I made these choices was to make you understand that staying in Jiang City was the wrong decision. As long as you regret it, come find me and admit your mistake. I'll still forgive you, accept you, and marry you. I rolled my eyes, looking at him with indescribable disbelief. I really didn't understand what he was thinking. You're about to get married. How can you still say something like this? I just want you to bow your head. What did I do wrong? Everything I've done is right, Oscar said decisively. I just want to tell you that choosing to develop in High City is the right choice, not Jiang City. Oscar suddenly smiled. If you're jealous because of Zoe, don't worry, I'll break up with her. I was speechless. He continued. Eric is impressive. But so what? If it weren't for his family background, he'd be nothing in Jiang City either. I built everything myself. I'm different from him. Oscar kept talking nonstop. I took small sips of warm water, quietly watching him lose control. When I didn't say anything for a long time, he finally reacted and asked angrily, why aren't you saying anything? With your mouth chattering nonstop, what could I even say? These are your own thoughts, not mine. Victoria, why are you being sarcastic? Isn't what I said right? Yes, you're right about everything. But what does that have to do with me? You can find like-minded people to walk with you. Why drag me into it? I said calmly. When Oscar heard the first part, a smug smile appeared. When he heard the rest, his face darkened instantly. I continued. It's good that you have ideals and ambition. There's nothing wrong with choosing to develop in High City. I've never denied your efforts or your hard work. But Oscar, people are independent individuals. You have your choices. I have mine. There is no right or wrong. You have no right to judge others' choices or point fingers. So just plan your own life well. Don't force your framework onto others. The life I want is one where I can stay by my parents' side. Before I could finish, Oscar interrupted me. Victoria, you really are hopelessly stubborn. Yes, he just wanted me to bow my head, admit my mistake, and acknowledge that he was right. In his heart, whatever he believed was right. No one could change it. Coming today had been pointless. I didn't say anything more. Silence. Still silence. Oscar suddenly said, Victoria, if I don't come to find you, and you don't come to find me, are you really not willing to go with me? I froze, confused. Seeing my expression, Oscar sighed. All these years, I've been sulking. I'll admit defeat first. Come with me now, and I'll pretend everything that happened never happened. As for the child in your belly, you can just get rid of it. I thought he came today to show off how well he was doing in High City and make me regret it. I never expected him to harbor such thoughts. How did I ever fall for someone so self-righteous in my previous life? Oscar and I had long since lost any chance of returning to the past. Oscar, did water get into your brain? I couldn't help raising my voice. Oscar's face looked terrible. I'm already married. I have a husband who loves me. A child about to be born. My parents by my side. My current life is happy and complete. What makes you think I would throw all this away to go with you? Besides, don't you have a fiancé? You're really scum. Oscar's face turned alternately pale and flushed. He retorted, I don't believe you can really forget all the feelings we had for so many years. You really let me go? In the previous life, wasn't it just because I didn't go back to Jiang City with you that it turned out like that? Fine. I'll quit my job in High City and stay with you. Isn't that enough? I splashed the remaining water in my cup directly onto his face. Your ego is truly astounding. I have my own life. What we had is long over. When time reversed and I came back, we both made our choices. I was unwilling to compromise, and you were unwilling to give up your big city. your ambitions. We each go our own way. Isn't that good? If today is about persuading me to go with you, then I'm sorry. There's nothing more for us to talk about. After saying that, I stood up and turned to leave. Victoria! Oscar tried to grab me, but Eric arrived in time, caught his hand, and flung it away in one smooth motion. I had told Eric beforehand that I was going to meet Oscar. I turned around and looked at Oscar, who was staring at me with a pleading expression. I've already admitted my mistake. What are you still dissatisfied with? Oscar stared straight at me. Eric wanted to say something, but I tugged lightly at his sleeve. I'm not dissatisfied. Staying far away from me is what I want. I let you go a long time ago. You should also let yourself go. After that, I ignored Oscar and left hand in hand with Eric. Chapter 05. I thought that after things had gone this far, after everything had turned so ugly, there would be no more contact between us. Even if we ever met again, we would only be strangers. I blocked all his contact information, but I didn't expect that just 1 week later, I would receive a message. Victoria, I've left Haicheng. I'm staying in Jiangqing. I'm not leaving again. I was stunned. What did he mean? I want to see you. I blocked him again. I pretended I had seen nothing. But after work, Oscar was waiting at the entrance of my company. He was standing there holding a bouquet of roses. There was no way to avoid him. I felt irritated. I already made myself very clear last time. I frowned at him. You always said you wanted to go back to Jiangqing. I don't care about you anymore. Now I'm back. I'll stay here from now on. Oscar said with conviction. That's your choice. It has nothing to do with me. I tried to walk past him. He grabbed my hand. What do I have to do for you to forgive me? You and I already made our choices back then. We both gave up. I never gave you up. Oscar interrupted urgently. I have my own career now. I'm back. What I can give you is no less than what Eric gives you. It doesn't work like that. My life is very good now. Stop bothering me. You like me. Oscar said, you only chose Eric because I left you. Now I'm back. The one you should choose is me. You shouldn't go against what you really feel. It was true that I loved him deeply back then, but no matter how intense love once was, daily erosion eventually wears it down. Oscar, feelings aren't something eternal. Love can disappear. I said, looking at him. Oscar's eyes turned red. He probably never expected that I truly no longer wanted him. In my last life, I agreed to stay in Haicheng for you, but you also promised me you wouldn't stay there forever, that you would return to Jiangqing. Later you said you weren't coming back. I never interfered with your ambitions. I supported you, but if you were never going to return, why did you lie to me back then? Oscar rushed to explain. I was afraid you wouldn't agree to stay. I really loved you. I was afraid of losing you. But after you were reborn, you never once asked me to wait for you. You chose Haicheng without hesitation. Doesn't that already say everything? Did you really care about me? Oscar couldn't finish. He said painfully. I thought we understood each other without needing to say it. I never imagined you would choose another man. No, you didn't come back because you love me. You came back because I found a good man and you can't accept it. You proposed to Zoe in front of all our classmates. And now you're trying to keep me. What about her? You don't want me because you love me. You just want me to submit. You're panicking because you lost control. You want everything, hypocritically. I'm sorry, Oscar suddenly said. He took out a ring and knelt on one knee. I know I was wrong. Forgive me this once. I'll change. Victoria, give me another chance. Let's start over. This time, I'll listen to everything you say. I shook my head and refused coldly. There is no chance. Victoria, I really gave up Haicheng for you. That was your own choice. It has nothing to do with me. I said calmly. I already told you. I won't turn back. I said it peacefully. I didn't care at all. I knew Oscar's motives were impure. I felt only annoyance. Nothing else. Eric came to pick me up. He stood not far away, leaning by the entrance, watching me. He was waiting for me. He respected me. He supported all my decisions. He trusted me. What he gave me was something Oscar could never compare to. Chapter 06. I smiled and walked toward Eric. Wife, can we go now? Eric asked, holding my hand. I nodded. I could feel the intense gaze behind me. I didn't turn around. I got into the car and left. Oscar stood there, utterly lost. I decided to resign. After that, I started my own studio. Later, my child was born, a boy. Because of the pregnancy, we didn't hold a wedding. 3 months later, Eric and I held our wedding, inviting classmates and professional partners to witness it. Of course, Oscar was not included. Later, some classmates said, Oscar didn't stay long in Chongqing before leaving again, and he broke up with Zoe. Zoe refused to accept it and caused a huge scene. It even made the social news. All the classmates sighed over it, but those things had nothing to do with me. I simply smiled and let them pass. From then on, we went our separate ways.